All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into a spiritual text that gives us a really radical and, pretty challenging perspective on love and forgiveness. What makes this so unique is that it frames all these teachings as the direct words of Jesus, offering guidance on how we can totally transform our inner world. So let's start with two emotions we all think we understand pretty well: love and hatred. Now, the way we usually see it is simple. They're polar opposites, right? One's light, the other is total darkness. But the text we're digging into today, it wants us to look at the relationship between them in a completely different and honestly pretty surprising way. And here it is. This is that surprising relationship. The text just throws out our basic assumption with this wild idea. Hatred isn't the opposite of love at all. Nope. Instead, it's just love that's been blocked or frustrated or corked like a bottle of wine. The love is still in there. It's just trapped. So if love can be corked, that brings up the big question, right? How in the world do we uncork it? Well, according to this text, the very first step is to completely redefine what we even think hatred is in the first place. See, the text argues that what we call hatred isn't some outward aggressive force. It's actually an inward pain. It's the frustration that comes from this deep, unmet hunger for love and respect. So think of it less like a desire to hurt someone and more like a desperate, empty ache that's just crying out to be filled. And this slide just puts that idea into such sharp focus. On one side, you've got a life that's driven by that corked hunger, right? It's all about demanding things, trying to receive. But on the other side, a life of true love is the complete mirror image. It's not about getting, it's defined by the continuous, unconditional act of giving. But, okay, where does that ability to just give and give actually come from? The text points to one specific source: gratitude. The argument is that this impulse to give isn't something we just force ourselves to do. It's the natural overflow that happens when we finally stop and realize how much we've already been given. This whole idea of love being about giving leads to an even tougher concept: a love that's absolute. And what that means is a love that doesn't change based on our circumstances. It doesn't matter if we're happy or healthy or successful. The source material really puts this idea to the test with this pointed question. I mean, sure, it's pretty easy to be generous and kind when you're on top of the world, right? But what happens when you're the one who's suffering? What can you possibly give when you feel like you have absolutely nothing left? And the text answers with this incredibly powerful image. It's not about how much you give. The real measure of love is the sacrifice behind it. A single candle that's offered when you have almost nothing shines so much brighter than 10,000 candles given when you have plenty to spare. And this brings us right to the text's core definition of what real love is. It's not relative, it's absolute. It's the commitment to keep on giving, even through your own pain, sickness, failure, or poverty. The true heart of this kind of love is just one word: endurance. This idea of endurance is just captured so perfectly in the famous parable of the shepherd, isn't it? Love, from this point of view, is the relentless refusal to give up on anyone. It means to never, ever abandon, even the one who has wandered the furthest away. So if love is all about constant giving and this incredible endurance, then maybe its most difficult and most powerful practice has to be forgiveness. Now, the text invites us to do something simple, but, well, it's deeply challenging. Seriously, just take a second. How many people can you honestly say you have truly, completely forgiven? And just as we're trying to count them up, the text hits us with this really sobering counterpoint. It asks us to compare that small number to the huge, often unseen number of people we ourselves might have harmed, whether we meant to or not. And the point here isn't to make you feel guilty, it's to foster a sense of humility. But here's the crucial takeaway. This whole thing isn't just about letting other people off the hook. The text frames forgiveness as a profound act of self-healing. When you forgive someone else, you are ultimately forgiving yourself, and you're opening the door to be forgiven too. I know this is all so difficult. You might be wondering, where could a human being possibly find the capacity for this kind of endless love and forgiveness? Well, the text explains this with a beautiful, central metaphor. The text explains this whole thing with this beautiful idea. Our spiritual journey is like digging a well. Our main task in life is to dig for the source of love inside ourselves. But so many of us, we stop way too soon. Some of us are happy with just a little trickle of water. And, kind of heartbreakingly,
A huge number of people give up just before they hit the real prize, the inexhaustible spring that's lying right there, just beneath the surface.
Okay, all of this builds to the text's ultimate message, and it's a message that's framed not as some ancient history, but as a kind of modern-day resurrection. Here, the speaker in the text proclaims a return, a resurrection, but, and this is so important, it's not a physical one. It's a rebirth through the very life and words that are in the message we've been exploring this whole time.
So, what does this resurrection actually look like? Well, it's not about a body, it's about an idea. It's the reemergence of this teaching of love, carried through words and sound, like an eternal spring that's meant to spark a huge movement in the world today.
The text finishes with this direct, really personal call. It brings us back to that powerful image of the shepherd, calling out to all the stray lambs, which is all of us really, beckoning us to come back home. And so, this explainer of the source material leaves us right here, with the text's final question now turned toward you. It presents its message not as some history lesson, but as a living voice that's calling out right now. And the only question left is, what voice are you going to follow?